Greetings, Ras. May you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, greetings. My name is Ras Tulo, Ras Ainiti. Yeah, I live in Velkom in the Free State. I am a member of New Race Consciousness. I am the Secretary General of the New Race Consciousness.
See, what is the interest and objectives of New Race Consciousness?
Well, quite simply, the New Race Consciousness aims at promoting the world over the teachings of Emperor Haile Selassie and Empress Menen to the whole world community as tools for perfecting world affairs, because we feel more than ever that the world is in need now of the teachings of His Majesty and Empress Menen more than ever before. And we operate mainly in the educational sector to try and create better models for the society to live.
See. So, Ras Ainiti, since there are new developments in the country regarding cannabis, it seems like many sectors of our society would be affected, including the employment sector. How do you think these developments may affect the workplace and Rastas at the workplace?
Yes, I think it's an opportunity for both the members of the Rastafari community and the employers at the workplace to learn about one another, because the Rastafari community have specific attributes that can benefit the workplace, and we have different schools of thought, we have different perspectives that can enrich the philosophies and the perspectives of the employer. So I think it affords both the employers and the Rastafari community a good platform for learning, as well as South Africa, because it is a development in the entire country. It is a development that has come as a result of a constitutional court ruling. So it binds all of the sectors of society, members of the sectors of society, to really engage and see how it is that they can make the best of the constitutional court ruling.
Sen. So what do you think about employers tightening up their workplace policies and code of conduct against cannabis users?
Well, I think the employers need to actually revisit the constitutional court themselves, because it is the constitutional court that has allowed adult citizens to use cannabis in private. So if the constitutional court has allowed adults to make use of cannabis in private, I think it augurs well for the adults in the private space, but it does not affect the employer or the employment place in at such, because the policies that are done at the employment the employment area is not a private place per se. It's not a private place per se. So the employers are well within their right to draft policies which they feel that would advance the objectives of their organizations. However, such policies cannot in any way be contradictory or contravene against the constitutional provisions or the legislation that is already in place supporting the constitutional framework governing all sectors of society in South Africa.
But surely employers are justified to be concerned and therefore be proactive about poor work performance suspected on account of cannabis use.
Yes, well, the employers, they have a right to be concerned, and they also have remedies available to themselves, because the first thing that they cannot do is to introduce policies which would contravene the constitutional court ruling of adults making use of cannabis in their private homes, and therefore want to punish adults for making use of cannabis at their private homes at the workplace. They can develop regulations which prohibit cannabis at the workplace. And if they in any way suspect that the employee poorly performs on account of cannabis use, there are remedies available to the employer. The employer may put the employee under a probationary period to check if the underperformance of the employer is consistent or not. And remember, the employer also has to create the environment that is well conducive for the employee to be able to perform to the satisfactory level of the employer. So the burden of performance does not only lie on the employee, it also lies with the employer, because the employer in essence hires the services of the employee. They don't hire the person of the employee. The person of the employee still have the right to their own person, and the relationship, the employment relationship, cannot in any way violate either the rights of the employee or the rights of the employer.
Okay, Ras Ainiti, do you think it would be ethical for employers to run medical tests on levels of cannabis in the blood of employees?
Okay, I think it is unethical, and it is actually prohibited for employers to run medical tests on employees unless the employer has acquired a court order to that effect, or a statutory order to that effect, or if the employer makes a special application to the court giving justifiable reasons as to why the employees need to be tested. And also the employee may give consent, and it is only when the employee gives consent to them being tested that the employer would not really have to go to the means of applying, making a special application to the court. But without the consent of the employee, it is prohibited to run tests, any form of medical tests on the employee.
Same. How will the stringent employer policies against cannabis or cannabis consumption at the workplace affect communities which use cannabis for their religious and cultural purposes, especially the Rastafari community in South Africa?
Well, the Rastafari community in South Africa has pronounced itself on various occasions to the South African government. The South African government has, on its part, conducted studies into the Rastafari community, into their way of life, their religious aspects, and the Rastafari community are currently members of the Community Council of the CRL Commission. The CRL Commission is a Chapter 9 institution that is there to safeguard and protect democracy in South Africa. That institution has recognized the Rastafari community as a religious and a cultural and a linguistic community, an indigenous community in South Africa. There are reports which have been tabled, which have been developed by the CRL Commission at state expense. And these reports should have been consulted. And with me now, I have the 2012 CRL Commission recommendations with regard in particular to the Rastafari community. And there are specific recommendations which have been made in relation to the Department of Labor and the workplace in particular, in terms of how the employers and the labor department should make means to absorb and accommodate and ease with the practices of discrimination against Rastafari community. So the following are recommendations that were made by the CRL Commission in relation to the Department of Labor. There are 3-point recommendations. During the Rastafari holidays, the Rasta community members should be released from work or have special leave to celebrate their holidays, just like any other people during their religious holidays. The Rastafari dress code, especially in the workplace, should be respected, not looked down upon. Prejudices and discrimination, which may also find expression by ways of policies and codes of conduct, against Rastas in particular, whether directly or indirectly, in the workplace, they should be addressed. In other words, if there are such provisions in our code of conduct, if there are such policies which stand adversely against, whether directly or indirectly, are adverse against the Rastafari community. Such policies and such codes of conduct should be looked at, re-looked at, revisited, and even amended to the effect that the Rastafari community are accommodated and not discriminated against in the workplace.
See?
Yes,
thank you. That was Ras Ainiti from the New Race Consciousness Movement. We give thanks, Ras Ainiti, till we meet again.
Rastafari, every time, my sister, most